Cold open. We're doing it again because we don't have any other option. Good evening, one and all. This is episode 15, Monorail Memoirs. We are talking today about the most underrated Disney attractions. Stitch is now actually sat up rather than being led down as he was before. So he now has a little bit of a better place. I think over time the background will just get slightly more Disney-fied. We'll see how we go. For now, the hat will do. I won't mention where it's from because people keep getting annoyed when I keep mentioning where it's from, so I won't do that. But with that in mind, Lauren, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. I did a real long run today in anticipation of us doing the springtime surprise. So yes, I'm very
How
excited.
long was your run?
Pardon?
How long was it?
It was 11 miles.
Yeah, fair. I haven't run that long in a while, but last time I did was here, Vero Beach, Florida, which is when I stayed at the Vero Beach Resort. Video of a walkthrough up on our YouTube channel for those that want. But today we're going to be talking about the most underrated Walt Disney World attraction. The way in which we've broken this down is we've done one for each park. We haven't corroborated. We don't know what the other one has said, but we'll go in order that the parks were built rather than the order of sort of our preferences. So we're going to start in Magic Kingdom. Then Lauren, I'll give you the honors to go first. So we're talking underrated attractions. What have you got?
Yeah, so I was kind of taking myself through the Magic Kingdom to think about this one because they're all the ones that I think are rated are really good, and I've really struggled to think of an underrated one. I know which one you're going to go with, but for those that aren't into Disney lore and isn't a Disney adult or anything like that, they might easily pass by the People Mover. So I've thought of the People Mover being an underrated attraction because, yes, in our little corner of Disney adults, it is an underrated attraction, but I think that in the general population it is. What? Go ahead.
I actually had People Mover listed. Okay, and I'll explain, because for anyone who's watched more than one episode of this whole podcast, you'll know the answer is obviously Carousel of Progress. The thing is, I bang on about it so much, I'm hoping that increases its popularity so people understand why it is the best Disney attraction. No, but more seriously, I did have People Mover listed because I think the People Mover, the idea is, you sit in sort of little pods or cabins of 4, and you end up going on a very nice, relaxing journey where people watching is a fantastic little exercise. It's sheltered the whole time, especially during summer months. There's a nice little dark bit as you pass through Space Mountain. Not quite enough for a 40 winks, not quite enough for a nap, but it truly is good and it's underrated. I know that when California got rid of theirs, people have been wanting it to come back ever since. I very much agree with the People Mover. Why did you think I was going to say Carousel of Progress, though?
Because you just bang on about it all the time.
Because it's the best attraction. So I wanted to try and flip the script and do something slightly different by saying the People Mover. But you're right. The reality is that the best attraction is still Carousel of Progress. And
I never said that.
And I shared something with you when I was trying to. So I was using playing around with AI for a little bit and Google Gemini to try and come up with some of the thumbnails. And I typed in the description of what we do on the podcast here at Monorail Memoirs, and also what this episode was about, and so needed a thumbnail. Now you'll see the thumbnail you clicked on is it's going to be Disney-fied and kind of generic, but I kid you not, what came up was the Carousel of Progress, and with the caption, "There's a great big beautiful tomorrow." So either I have managed to continue to push this narrative into the system, or just because we were logged in, maybe it just decided that it knew what my preferences were. But I agree with point one then. People Mover, I'm completely on board with that one. So we have an agreement straight out of the gate.
Rare for us.
Almost unheard of. But let's move now through to EPCOT. So I will throw first spears on this one. EPCOT has been going through a lot of transition, especially over the last 5 to 6 years. I think slightly for the worse. I think we are moving away from this sort of entertainment education format, and we're now just moving towards intellectual property being thrown left, right, and Chelsea. I do think that is a mistake broadly. But with that said, I could argue this is the biggest underrated ride in any of the parks. But it's going to be Living with the Land.
I knew you were going to say that. It's not mine, but in my mind, I was thinking he's going to Living with the Land.
So Living with the Land is a sit-down boat ride that takes about 20 minutes, and you literally just bobble along, goes through different plant areas in the greenhouse, and the narration talks about the importance of food and the importance of sort of environmentally friendly pesticides and that sort of thing. Talks a little bit about how fish and growing vegetables can be a coexistent, and it's education. It's what Epcot was originally about. It's education combined with entertainment. It is nice, it is relaxing, and until the last couple of years, this was only ever going to be a 5, maybe a 10-minute wait. The problem is, so many people like us have continued to bang on about how good of an attraction it is. There have been wait times now recorded at 40, 50, and 60 minutes. Now, well, would I wait an hour to do Living with the Land? Probably not. But could I understand why so many people are interested in it? Yeah, absolutely. It taps into what Epcot always was, and what people who have got a bit of nostalgia like me think it always should be. So that's my answer for Epcot, and clearly a good one. And I think we're not in agreement in terms of it being the answer, but I think we're very much on board. Lauren, what is your Epcot suggestion for the most underrated attraction?
So obviously we're talking about wait times and things, and the one that I've gone with, the wait time is always 5 to 10 minutes, 15 at max, and that is the Grand Fiesta Tour.
Oh, how did I not think of this?
The Three Caballeros.
Yes,
I just love
the Grand Fiesta Tour. Oh, yeah, fantastic suggestion. Fantastic suggestion. Do you want to explain to our viewers what the Grand Fiesta Tour is, Lauren?
It is a boat ride, and it's based in the pyramid in Mexico. What's the actual name for it? I don't know. It's like a pyramid sort of thing in Mexico. And we
don't have many Mexican listeners, so I don't think too many people are going to write in, if there are any. Lo siento. That means I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm very British. So yeah, you go on this boat ride, and it's initially quite traditional. You go around this volcano, and then all of a sudden, ¿Dónde está Donald? Where the heck is Donald? So you're going around this boat ride with the 3 caballeros, two caballeros if you think about it that way, trying to find Donald, and it's all a bit of fun. It's just a bit bizarre at times. You have this waiter that's terrible computer generated stuff that pretends that there's just something on a plate that's spinning around, but he's actually looking over here and the plate's here, and it's just a bit like, what on earth is he even doing? So for those that kind of want the really good quality, really good technology rides, might not be for you, but I love it. It's really fun, and again, it gets you out of the heat.
The thing that gets me about the Grand Fiesta Tour is, so a few years ago they updated it, so the final bit used to just be a computer screen with them doing stuff on it, and then now they actually got 3 animatronics in there. I actually think it was better when it was just the screen, because the animatronics don't do much. They're sort of just like,
yeah.
So I agree. It's a great suggestion. If I'm honest, I didn't even consider it, because as soon as I thought Epcot, I was like, it's Living with the Land. There is no question. I stick with my answer, but I completely see where yours has come from. And that makes us at the halfway point then, Lauren. We're going to move now to Hollywood Studios. I have my answer for this. I think it's a great answer, but I will let you go first. Which do you think is the most underrated attraction in Hollywood Studios?
So I've got a bit left field, and I'm not entirely sure if I 100% agree with myself, but it's the one that I could think of. And I love Alien Swirling Saucers, because it is just really fun. And for someone with 2 very young children, the smiles and the giggles and the laughs that I got on that ride was second to none. That was literally their favourite ride. They loved it. It's never a really long wait generally, and Yeah, it's just a really fun ride.
It's not a long way. I mean, it's regularly 40, 45 minutes.
Yeah, but for Toy Story Land.
Yeah, and Toy Story Land has a lot of problems, namely that it has no shelter basically anywhere.
Yeah.
You're continually exposed to Floridian heat. Thank you, Disney, for. And I don't know who designed that specifically, but that was a massive error and oversight. I just don't know. I think anything Swirling Saucers, it is for children, because you sort of think of it as a new format on the teacups, like the idea of you going around, you sort of connected to a bit and you move. It's actually very similar to, if anyone's been to Disneyland in California, there is the Cars attraction, Luigi's, and it's very similar to that. I'll be honest, I can't get on board with this as an underrated attraction. I actually think the time to wait for it possibly makes it actually overrated, because you end up waiting so long for it. Not to diminish your points, but I stick with mine clearly. As I think about Hollywood studios, and this is an answer I've given somewhat on another show, I think it's Walt Disney Presents. Because Walt Disney Presents gives you the walkthrough sort of tour, a little bit of history to not just Walt Disney himself, but also the animation studios, the parks, how we got to this point, and then a 10-minute showing at the end of One Man's Dream, which is Walt's sort of life, how he grew up in Marceline, Missouri, going through Kansas City, going to Hollywood, etc. I think that's really wholesome, and for those of us who are interested in some elements of Disney history, not just the theme parks, but the history of the man himself, I think that's a fantastic attraction. I think it's underutilized, and I know nowadays sometimes they take the show and instead of showing One Man's Dream, they'll show a preview of an upcoming movie or Disney Plus series or whatever, and I think that's kind of gimmicky. I'm not a huge fan of that, but yeah, Walt Disney Presents is going to be my answer very much for Hollywood studios.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That is, it's one that I didn't really. When you brought it up last time, I didn't really think of it as an attraction per se, but it totally is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a ride. It's not a ride. It is an attraction.
Yeah.
And this is one thing that Disney does differently from an awful lot of other theme parks. A lot of theme parks will have rides. You know, if you listen from the UK, Alton Towers is a great example. Some of the rides have got theming to them. You think about Smiler, for example, Oblivion somewhat, but it's just ride. There is no attraction element to it. This is not a ride, but it's absolutely something worth hitting up. Walt Disney Presents in Hollywood Studios is going to be my answer for the most underrated attraction in that particular park. Which leaves us with one left as we move towards Animal Kingdom. Now, Animal Kingdom is really good for a lot of the shows, and I was, if I'm honest, at one point I was leaning towards Lion King because I was like, the Lion King show is fantastic. What do you pull that face for?
It's not underrated though.
Yeah, okay. It's probably appropriately rated. That's fair. So what I'm going for actually is something that I can say is absolutely underrated, that I've never had to queue for more than 5 minutes, and it's Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Yeah, that's what
is that what you're going to pick as well? Rafiki's Planet Watch. You get on your little train, you tootle off 5 minutes up the road. You go to, you can go to the affection section. You can pet some goats. You can see some of the more, whether they be insects or lizards or whatever, in various different display cases. There's even, if you time it right, there is also an animation bit where you can sit there and sketch along with an artist, which is fantastic. So my reasoning for Rafiki's Planet Watch, never had to wait for it, and it's great if you've got children, or in my case, you have a wife who likes goats. Really easy win. Why did you choose Planet Watch, Lauren?
Yeah, so very much the same. I was toying between that and the Maharaja Jungle Trek because it's a similar sort of thing. It's not a big, massive ride that attracts loads of people. You never have to wait for it. The only downside to the Maharaja Jungle Trek to me is you have to use your legs. Whereas for Rafiki's Planet Watch, you do get that reprieve of the train journey. You can sit down. It's a nice tootle along, and then it's all kind of quite contained as well. You don't need to walk quite far. I don't think. Whereas Maharaja Jungle Trek is quite a walk.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a physical aspect to it. Where Rafiki's Planet Watch is far more laid back.
That's why I settled on that one.
No, that's fantastic. And then, so as we look to the end of this episode, then we have agreement in two places. People Mover for Magic Kingdom and Freakish Planet Watch for Animal Kingdom. We disagree in Epcot, but not because we think each other was wrong. I go for Living with the Land, you go for the Grand Fiesta Tour, and then Hollywood Studios is the point of disagreement. I don't think the Alien Sources is underrated. I think, if anything, it's overrated. That was your answer, and I went for Walt Disney Presents just because of the sort of nostalgia factor. I did give away during this what I thought was going to be the most underrated across the parks when I said Living with the Land.
Mm-hmm.
For you, though, Lauren, what is, if you're to answer the question in the title of this episode, what is the most underrated attraction throughout Disney?
People Mover.
People Mover. You've gone for the People Mover. Let me tell you why you're wrong. Do you know what the most underrated attraction is?
What?
The most underrated attraction in Disney World is resort hopping on the monorail. So, hear me out, right? Hear me out. The monorail goes, obviously, Magic Kingdom, and it services 3 resorts. It services the Polynesian, the Grand Floridian, and the Contemporary. As long as you're not going in early doors or you're not there at fireworks kicking out time, you can sit on the monorail. You can get the scenic tour of not just, one specific attraction. You can go to the Grand Floridian and you can go for, a wander and possibly get the boat across to Polynesian before you go and have lunch there at Kona Cafe. And then you can go over to the Contemporary, maybe have a character dining experience at Chef Mickey's, or you can go to, the steakhouse or whatever. It's a little bit different because when people think about a day in Disney, you think about, well, you've bought your tickets, you want to go around. This is a free of charge thing where you can just cut about these resorts and have a great time. I mean, how many times have we actively left the Magic Kingdom to go and sit in the lobby of the Grand Floridian?
Yeah, every holiday. We have to do it at least once.
Every holiday. And so my point is, I actually think that the most underrated attraction isn't even really in the park itself. Are we biased because of the name of this podcast? Maybe. But I very much pulled the rug from under you there. But do you see where I'm coming from?
100%, yeah, and it's free essentially as well, providing you can pay for parking somewhere. You don't even have to have a Disney ticket, as you say. You can enjoy all of these facilities without even having a Disney ticket. So it would be a good, if you kind of bolstered it onto maybe the end of your holiday, if you didn't have enough days or something. It's just a fantastic time to stay in the Disney mode, but not having to go actually into the parks and be exhausted. So yeah, I get that 100%.
And on that summary then, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes episode 15 of Monorail Memoirs. We thank you for listening. If you would like to consider subscribing, that'd be really appreciated. Lauren to the ticker. We've follow us on Instagram and TikTok. If you have any thoughts, comments, queries, please email us monorailmemoirs@gmail.com. Stick it in the chat below or in the comment section. We'll make sure to reply to you. Thank you one and all for listening. This is something that we look forward to doing every week because we are just slightly sad. Nevertheless, as always, the sign off will be as usual, even if our intro is long and dead. So with that in mind, please stand clear of the doors. Bye, everybody.
Bye.